Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to VeeamON 2017. The program is about to begin. Please take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome co-CEO and President, Peter McKay.
Welcome to VeeamON New Orleans. It's great to see you, all of you. For me, this is the first time at VeeamON, but let me see how many people have been here. This is their first VeeamON for Veeam. How many people? That's great. Thank you for coming. We appreciate that. There's about 3,000, almost 3,000 people here today, but I'm told there's another 3,000 or 4,000 people that we're streaming this show too, and 2,000 more that are Veeam employees. So I thought they can't see all of you today, but I thought maybe they could hear you. So what I thought is if we can make some noise. I know we were at Bourbon Street and having some fun last night, but if you could, just do me a favor. On a count of 3, can all of you say Veeam as loud as you can? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Veeam! Excellent, thank you. That worked better with you guys than my kids at home. So thank you for all coming here. We're excited. I know a lot of you came because you've heard that Veeam throws really good parties, and that's what you wanted to come and witness. We've now achieved over 245,000 customers in 142 countries around the globe. On average, through to 2016, we've added 4,000 new customers per month in the last 6-7 quarters. Our trajectory for growth is something we and our partners are extremely proud of. And we see no end to that momentum anytime soon. It's a huge responsibility for Veeam to protect 14 million of your virtual machines worldwide. And we take that responsibility very seriously. A 73 score is more than twice the industry average and ahead of the best technology companies in the industry. What isn't shown here is our renewal rate of 87% of our customers renew on support agreements. We've had 34 consecutive quarters of year-over-year growth. In Q1, Veeam's business grew 33%. We've added over 1,000 employees over the past 12 months, and we have plans to add 800 more over the next 12 months. Over the next 2 days, you're going to hear a lot more of what we're going to unveil in terms of the next generation of our availability platform for the multi-cloud world. Here's a little teaser, though, of what's to come. First is Veeam version 10, a major extension of our platform, extending availability to physical through Veeam agents and Nass storage, greatly improving RPOs to protect enterprise mission-critical applications and data, and reduce long-term retention costs with native object storage support. On the cloud, you're going to hear Paul Mathis tomorrow talk about a lot of our cloud announcements. But we now have over 15,000 managed service providers and cloud providers as part of our partner ecosystem. Our Microsoft partnership has been one of the strongest and deepest partnerships over the years, and we're going to take that further and deeper. And with a strategic investment we made in a company called N2WS, we're going to discuss an aggressive plans for how we're rolling out and working with AWS and many others. And last but not least is our strong partner community, building on our strong previously announced development and go-to-market partnerships with HPE and Cisco and IBM. We're going to be discussing some exciting things we're going to do with VMware and a number of other companies. Veeam's vision is to provide always-on availability for any service across any cloud. And I'm referring to public clouds like Amazon and Azure and Google, and critical SaaS applications like Office 365 or Salesforce.com, privately hosted and partner managed. Confidence in availability anywhere, anytime. Some of the largest companies on the planet as strategic partners. Veeam is also partnering with best-of-breed solutions to extend our solution, our portfolio of offerings that you'll hear more about. And as you look at Veeam's vision and how it's evolved, we're providing our customers with always-on availability. Remember, there are three themes that we're going to cover over the next 2 days. One, a dramatically expansion of our platform with depth and breadth. We're launching several initiatives with our cloud partners to drive our cloud-first strategy. And major investments in expanding our partner ecosystem. We see a bright digital future, and we're focused on providing seamless experience for anyone, anytime, any place. Over the next 2 days, enjoy exploring and delivering digital life experience for your customers, your employees, and your partners. To introduce the co-founder, a friend of mine, the #1 man, Mr. Ratmir Tibishev.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to New Orleans.
So Ratmir, they told me the first question I have to ask you is how many pieces of green are you wearing?
Yeah, we have the new rule.
We can see.
Yeah, we have the new rule, right? So you have to wear at least 1 piece of green, preferably 3. 5 or more is better.
So what do you have?
I have belt and I have socks.
Socks. Now let me ask you about this.
This counts as 1 piece, not 2.
Okay, good. Okay. So let me ask you, you wore green socks yesterday. Is that the same pair of green socks?
That's a good question. No, it was on sale.
So this last VeeamON, you were where I am. And so now you're kind of watching from the side. What do you think? How's it going?
Peter, you know that I really enjoy being on stage and in front of the large audience and giving the speeches and presentations. However, this time was an exception. I was coming to New Orleans and really, really relieved that I don't have to write my script, learn my script, prepare for the presentation, practice at midnight before the presentation. So I just came to really enjoy.
Yes.
Enjoy this show, talk to our customers, talk to our partners, and just have fun.
Yes.
So
must be nice.
It is. Yes. Absolutely. I'm just enjoying myself. I'm very happy to have you as part of our team. And in the last 10 months, we have done tremendous things. Yeah. And so more things are coming.
So what do you think? The new look, the new feel?
I really, really, really love our new logo. I really love our new colors. They're still green, but now there is more green, deeper, lighter, darker. And I really like our waves. This is waves of data going through our digital life in multi-cloud environment.
Did you think of that?
Yes.
All right, well, that's good.
That's what I think when I look at these waves.
Good.
But I remember 10 years ago when we started the company, we were thinking about the name for the company and the logo.
Yeah.
I don't know if some of you know what Veeam means.
It's coming.
It's coming. So basically, Veeam means very simple, VM, right? So virtual machine, VM. And that's our first logo. That's how we designed it. However, we had a user, big fan of Veeam. He came up with a different story, and he was a very famous blogger. His version of Veeam was different.
Yeah.
He said, Ratmir and Andrei were sitting in the morning, early morning, designing the logo and thinking about the name. So what the name means is 5:33 a.m. That's the time they come up with the new logo and the new name.
Well, thank you, Ratmir. And thank you all. Enjoy your VeeamON experience. We got to move aside and let the show continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ratmir.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vice President Product Marketing, John Metzger.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome again to VeeamON and to New Orleans. Unfortunately, I have to tell Ratmir and Peter I forgot my 3-pack of green socks. I'll bring that next time. But I'm here. Are you here to experience the next generation of availability? Yeah? Yes? All right, good. You're in the right place, because for the next couple minutes, we're going to talk about what's coming in the Veeam Always-On Availability Platform. Veeam helps businesses win across the globe with our availability suite for the always-on cloud. Non-stop business continuity, digital transformation agility, and analytics and visibility. So let's take a few minutes and look at each one of these in a little bit more detail. So now when we talk about non-stop business continuity, it's the confidence that what you need is available when, where, and how you need it. Next, let's talk about digital transformation agility. Now this is providing that easy, secure, reliable, cross-cloud data management and migration. So when you choose a cloud, you choose it your way. Now we do this through a software-defined, hardware and cloud-agnostic platform that lets you adapt to the requirements of your end users. And we all know those requirements change, and they change frequently. But with Veeam, your data, your backups are powerful. They deliver actionable insights for data management, operational performance, and compliance across your entire infrastructure. And enterprises can now monitor, analyze, and act upon this analytics and visibility data. But now we're going to show you how Veeam helps to deliver that seamless digital life experience that Peter was talking about. And we're going to show you that by unveiling many new features that are coming in our Availability Suite version 10, as well as our new Always-On Availability Platform. So you ready to experience some availability? You said you were before. Sit back, relax, and let me bring out some of the technical product marketing team to help us show you what's coming in the next releases.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senior Technical Evangelist Clint Wyckoff, Technical Evangelist Michael White, Director Technical Product Marketing and Evangelism Rick Vanover, and Technical Evangelist Michael Cade.
And with our new Veeam Availability Suite version 10, we're driving that business continuity, that agility to unprecedented new levels. And that's what we're going to share with you while we go through some of these today. Some key new enhancements that we'll talk about as part of version 10. Physical server and network attached storage protection and support. Tier 1 application and mission critical workloads with our new Veeam CDP, continuous data protection. And this is driving SLAs of seconds using that continuous replication to the private and the managed cloud. And we'll share more about that here in a few minutes. Native object storage support. You heard a little bit about this from Peter. This is freeing up that costly backup, primary backup storage with policy-driven automated data management that cuts that long-term retention and those compliance costs. And we're also going to share with you a new universal API that lets us to drive additional integrations with storage vendors. As you know, as you may know, how many of your businesses are 100% virtualized? We know that our customers, they tell us they're roughly about 75% virtualized on average. In December, we released our Veeam Agent for Linux. Now, today, we're excited to announce the release of Veeam Agent for Windows. Now, this delivers backup and recovery for physical and cloud-based workloads, as well as those roaming endpoints, those roaming devices.
John, so let's actually take a look here today. But first, I have a question for everybody. Who's ready to see some live demos? I think we are ready to see some real solid technology, right? Absolutely 100% live. Let's do this. So as John just mentioned here, Veeam Backup and Replication version 10 is going to be adding native agent support through the console. This has been one of the most requested features that we've received from our customers and our partners. And as John announced here today, we are going to be adding native agent management for both the Veeam Agent for Linux as well as the Veeam Agent for Windows. Here comes the savior of the day. No pressure, sir.
So what we're doing that, Clint, so we're talking about built-in management for our physical servers, virtual servers, all within one console.
Absolutely. So as we go through the demo here, just hopefully in a second or two, we're going to notice that not only are you able to manage the virtual infrastructure within Veeam Backup and Replication, but you're also going to be able to manage your Veeam agent for Windows as well as your Veeam agent for Linux deployments that you have. You'll notice several different areas of the UI that have been updated. So we're going to be able to share those with you here. And the first one that actually I would point out for you once we get this demo going here is the concept of inventory, right? Because previously we had an area within the backup console that was called virtual machines, right? That's where you would add your VMware vSphere environment, your Microsoft Hyper-V infrastructure. However, as organizations continue to modernize their data center, right, and they have workloads running all over the place, John, right, it makes sense to have and break that out from not only just a virtual machine perspective, but from a holistic inventory perspective as well. So being able to manage all of your agents as well as your virtual machines directly through the Veeam Backup and Replication console.
Got it.
All right, we're live.
Yeah, magic. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for working with us through the technical difficulties.
All
right, let's go.
So let's take a look here. So as I mentioned, this is Veeam Backup and Replication version 10. You'll notice here that we have the home area where you create jobs and things. Under inventory, you'll notice I have my vSphere environment, but I also have some protected groups, okay? Yes. Because before we can actually deploy the Veeam agent software, we need to discover the computers that we're going to deploy this on. So to do this, you simply right-click in the UI and go under Add Protected Group. Give it a name. VeeamON rocks. You'll notice here we have several different discovery types that we're able to perform. The first one I'm going to point out for you is the individual computer. So individual computer is a statically assigned. You essentially click that radio button, click next, and then you can type in the fully qualified host name or the IP address of the machine that you're going to discover. The second method is Active Directory objects. And with this, you're able to drill down inside of your Active Directory infrastructure, select either an organizational unit, a computer object, for instance, and be able to discover all of those physical devices that reside within that hierarchy. The last option here is a CSV file. So if you have a configuration management database, for instance, you can export the contents of that out to a CSV file and then import them here through the Backup and Replication console. But what I've done here is pre-created an Active Directory discovery groups here. So we can see that by default, John, we actually pre-populate the domain, so you don't have to worry about that. However, if you did have child domains or other domains with trust inside the infrastructure, you can drill down and click Change. So here, if we click on Add, we're able to drill down real-time, live, inside of my Active Directory infrastructure and choose specific organizational units or individual computer objects. And for today's demo, we're going to focus on the servers and workstations OU that we've got, John. With that, we click Next. Now, many companies have already virtualized, obviously, and they're going to want to exclude those virtual machines from their backup because they're already being protected by Veeam Backup and Replication. And you can simply check off that checkbox, or if you didn't want to discover stale objects inside of the infrastructure, maybe physical machines that haven't been decommissioned properly and have been offline for an extended period of time, or you can statically exclude individual objects or organizational units too. Now, in order for us to be able to perform backup activities, restore activities, as well as install the Veeam agent for Windows, we need to supply some local administrator credentials inside of that guest operating system. And that's what this master account is used for. But we're also able to use individual credentials on perhaps a computer-by-computer basis or an OU-by-OU basis. So if my workstation account has a different local administrator that's responsible for that machine, you can specify that, or my server OU, for instance, you can get pretty granular there. And then the last option here within our discovery is setting the frequency in which it runs. So this is available in either hours, minutes, hours, or days. So what this will actually do is it'll go out, pull your Active Directory or your CSV file for any updates, and then it'll automatically discover those as part of the protection group. And then we give you the option or the availability to be able to automatically deploy the Veeam agent software as part of that discovery process. And once we have our machines discovered, we're going to pivot the view over here to the Home tab. And you'll notice that I've already pre-created several jobs. And let's drill into the server demo job here, for instance. Now, under Type, we have the workstation type, we have the server type, but also, folks, you'll notice here, and we're showing this live for the first time for you VeeamON folks, is Veeam Backup Replication version 10 is going to be adding full Windows failover cluster support as well. So that's one of the most requested features that we've heard from our larger customers that they have failover clusters deployed in. So down here below, however, you'll notice two different modes, and they have two distinct purposes in life. The first one is managed by the backup server. And what this does is Veeam Backup and Replication itself fully manages that agent, the schedule, all of the job statistics, everything about it, right? There's no local information stored on that endpoint device. Everything is stored in the Veeam Backup and Replication configuration database. It installs a lightweight, limited user interface, so it's very low touch on the actual device that you're installing that's managed by Veeam Backup and Replication. But then the other radio button down here is the Manage by Agent. And the Manage by Agent option, John, fully installs the Veeam Agent for Windows experience. And this is useful for workstation machines that are perhaps disconnected away from the corporate network, where they need to meet their recovery point objectives on a continuous basis, right? The schedule is handled, all the information is stored locally inside of that agent device, right? So we can go down here under computers, we can see the protection group, the individual object that we've added, the backup mode being either entire computer or the selected volume. So if I wanted to do file level backup or just say, for instance, system state information, we can perform that too. Choose my backup repository. Where do I want this data to be stored? The restore point, the retention policy. For servers, especially applications that require consistency during the backup. So like SQL Server, always on groups, database availability groups for Exchange, Oracle, SharePoint, anything that you want to be able to do individual item level recovery, utilizing the Veeam Explorer series, you'll want to make sure you check off that application-aware image processing. And the last option here is the schedule. And obviously, this should be very familiar to anybody out there that's utilized Veeam in the past. The full server scheduling options are available there. And to wrap it up, folks, for you here at VeeamON, that is what Veeam Backup and Replication is going to be delivering for the agent management in version 10 that's coming to a theater near you soon.
To a theater near us. Great, and worth the wait. Thank you. I appreciate that, Clint. Thank you for showing us that. And Rick, can you tell us a little bit about the backup and restore for network-attached storage?
Yes, and good recovery, Clint. Let's hope that, oh, I'm already better off, so we're good. So this is one of the most requested features I've personally had from Veeam, and so I'm going to jump right in and show you this new capability in Backup and Replication V10 to back up a file share. Now, I've already got it set up, but I'm going to right-click on this. I'm going to go to Properties, and just like everything we know with Veeam, John, it's very easy to use. I've already dropped in the UNC path. This is a SMB share and some credentials here to access that. And then there's this new element down here called a file proxy. Now that's our data mover. Those of you familiar with the product, we have different proxies. Michael's going to talk about another type of proxy here in a second. And that's it. That's all we do to add this file server to inventory. And from there, I did already set up that file backup proxy, but again, it's just another component like a Windows service. And you'll see here, I've got the same host used for other roles. So everything we do with the different proxies, we can use existing proxies. We don't have to make it a complex infrastructure. So let's go ahead and do some backups. I've already got this backup job set up here. Now I'm going to edit it, and I like to go ahead and give self-documenting names. It's a Nass backup, so that's a really good way. It clearly tells me what this job does, and I'm going to add that file server as the source of this backup job. Now, I like that we have some logic in here about exclusions or inclusions or something like that. For those of you really aware of your business, what your data profiles are and what you need to retain, you can make jobs based on this. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. So the file backup of Nass servers is not the notion of restore points like we know from the agents, from virtual machines and things like that. It's more about file versioning. So we do put the backups in a repository like we know and love, but then we have this rule of keeping all versions of files for 28 days. For a lot of people, that's a pretty good set of capabilities. But aside from that, there's new logic, short-term and long-term retention here, and that's where we drop into setting that up, really to meet our business requirements, because these network-attached storage systems, they really come around to being line of business applications, very aware of the rules that you might have with that type of data. We can go ahead and keep it forever, as well as some additional file version information. And then the archive notion, which Michael will talk about here in a second. Then we drop in a schedule, and just like that, we're good to go. But wait, there's more. There's always the restore, and this is actually probably the most important part. So I'm going to go ahead and launch a file restore. 3 key scenarios. Start at the bottom, what I'll call your daily disasters. I need a file restored. No real issue there, files and folders as well. Or I could take the whole file share back to a point in time, which is really critical if it got like wiped out by ransomware or a bad script or that admin that you don't really care for, that type of thing. But then also a complete data restore. So restoring the entire file server, that's important. So we'll expand here and we'll find that file share that we've backed up. We have some additional logic on what versions of the files were present at the time. And you can see here I've been scraping all the airline timetables for years, and that's this file server. I'm kind of a geek like that, I like that. But where I put it, I can put it right back to where it came from, or I can send it to a new file server, and that right there is very important. A lot of people have asked us over the years, are you going to support NDMP? Well, we want to be able to bring it back to where it came from, but also, if that device had a complete failure, we wanted to be able to give you complete restore to different file server capabilities. So this is a really, really powerful capability, and I'm happy to have it coming in V10.
Yeah, terrific. Me too. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate the demo there. So now let's talk about another feature that we want to announce as part of V10, coming later this year. New Veeam CDP, Continuous Data Protection. So Michael, let's talk a little bit more about this. This Veeam CDP, it really is game-changing. Nobody else is doing this, certainly no legacy vendors. Can you maybe give us a demo, show us a little bit more what this is?
I'd love to, John.
Yeah, terrific.
Thank you for asking, by the way.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important for everybody to remember that customers have always been asking us, they want to have shorter RTO and shorter RPO, and of course that translates to losing the least amount of data and getting back to work the quickest. Currently, they're used to a 15-minute interval in our replication, and quite frankly, it uses snapshots, which is less than ideal, and it stresses the storage. But Veeam works very, very diligently to improve every time. It's not just about adding features to make people happy. It's about solving problems. So we continually improve, and in V10, we've done something really, actually pretty exciting with CDP. So we're going to look at it, so it's real. And yes, we see the screen. I had to check that. We did switch the cable, so it should have worked. The important thing about this particular feature, CDP is very different, and you'll even hear more about just how different it is. But we tried very hard. In fact, the R&D guys tried really hard to make sure that you already know how to use it. So we're looking at a CDP policy, and the first couple of screens, you guys, some of you could probably draw yourself because they're very familiar. Here we're picking out which VM or VMs to protect. The destination screen, you've seen that before. Job settings is, again, something you've seen before, and that's almost everything. We're almost done. The thing that's different, the only thing that's different is this screen, and it's really quite exciting. Look at the RPO default to 15 seconds. That's really quite extraordinary. There's no appliances, there's no special configuration that's hidden from you. You install VBR, or pardon me, Veeam Backup and Replication, and guess what? You create a policy like we're doing here, and you've got CDP. The next thing we need to look at is right below the 15 seconds. It's the short-term retention. The idea there is for 4 hours, which we have selected on the screen, you have 15-second resolution to recover from. Below that, in the longer-term retention, we're going to take a restore point every 8 hours and retain it for 7 days. And those are, in fact, absolutely customizable. And the really exciting thing for many of you, I suspect, is snapshots are not used in this process. No snapshots. And this is all sort of cool. We've got everything backed up with great resolution, but what does that really mean? And now we're going to something pretend, but that's just the way it works sometimes. I have a screenshot here of what happens when you actually have all of that backup. We have a choice here where we can restore to the to the most recent copy, but we also have a sliding scale where you can pick exactly the date time that you want to restore from, particularly useful when you're dealing with malware. you can really pick exactly what you want out of that 15-second granularity. So really quite interesting. This is all possible by some really interesting technology from VMware called the vSphere API for I/O filtering. And it's game-changing. I think you'll really appreciate it. Back to you, John.
Yeah, Michael, thank you again for showing us that. Veeam CDP, Continuous Data Protection, recovery RPOs of 15 seconds or less. So really excited to see that feature coming in V10. A key innovation coming in version 10 is native object storage support. Now this is key for a couple reasons, right? It allows us to easily move archives that are on backup storage to less expensive storage. It could be object storage, it could be just less expensive storage in other locations. But gives the IT infrastructure, the IT group, the flexibility to move those archives where they need them to be. So Michael, if you would, could you maybe walk us through how this works? How are we supporting this native object storage?
Yeah, absolutely, John. So as you mentioned, object storage, but also tape, as well as that. Those repositories that are around that random I/O type play, so not great for that short-term backup retention, but ideal for that longer-term write once, read many type play, as well as tape as well. So let's just jump in, and it is really as simple, easy, usable as the guys have said around that wizard-driven process. So here I've got the backup repository. It's sitting on that random I/O disk type that I have, and I've just created it as we would any other backup repository. Mm-hmm. So then we can jump down into the run through. So what the archive tier that we've put into the wizard is an extension of our scale out backup repository. So Rick mentioned how you could offload them down to that longer term retention for file backups, but also being able to extend that scale out backup repository. And how we do that is I've got an existing one made here. So if we jump into the properties, it looks exactly the same as any existing scale-out backup repository today. But under extents now, we've got this little checkbox that allows us to move those backup files to a cheaper storage as they age out of operational restores window. And what that is the next screen allows us to set a policy against that so that they will drip down into this archive tier. So under archive tier, we obviously go through and we add that local archive repository that I've said. You've got the ability to either move those backup files once they get to a retention. So if they get to 30 days, then we'll drop them down into this archive tier. And we've got a few overrides here. So if that primary backup storage gets to 80, 90%, then we can say, OK, let's push that down to that archive tier so we're not affecting that availability on the production. But also being able to copy. So being able to copy certain as they come into that local retention policy, that local primary backup storage, being able to spit that out to the archive repository as and when required. So we've got a few caveats around that in that we could do all the backup files, we could do full backups, or we could take a GFS chain, so a grandfather, father, son, and drop them down. Or in certain circumstances, just take that one month, one full backup a month, and drop that down to that archive tier. So the final thing I wanted to show around the object storage is we also have a tab here, so archive repositories, and again, so simple, but what I want to leave that just on the screen because I want you all to come back tomorrow where I'm going to talk about in a little bit more detail, in particular around the Microsoft Azure blob storage and how we actually leverage that within that archive tier repository.
Great teaser. People coming back tomorrow. Looks like policy-driven, fully automated, very simple to set up and deploy.
Exactly that.
Yeah, terrific. Great, Michael. Don't go anywhere. Okay. In V10, we're rolling out a new universal storage API that will enable select vendors to add additional integrations. And as you can see here on this side, IBM, Lenovo, and Infinidat are coming in V10. So Michael, I mentioned we were coming back to you. With these storage integrations, right, if I'm evaluating one or I already have these in place, I'm hearing that I can see up to 50 times faster backups. I get better RTOs, better RPOs. Very compelling. Can you show us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, exactly. Just to go back so again, wizard-driven, really simple. And you can see down the bottom now we have the IBM Spectrum as well as the Lenovo and the Infinidat box. But just that iteration with the storage APIs to be able to deliver more, faster, further with the storage integrations that we have. But again, keeping to that simple, that wizard-driven approach that we have the ability to just add them in that fashion. But just one thing to show you on the adding the storage. So InfiniDAP, for example, is a unified architecture, so it offers both NAS and SAN. So we want to be able to choose what Veeam uses from that, so whether it's going to use that block or use that file. So we can choose that protocol in a simple wizard here, but also we want to be able to choose those volumes to scan, so the volumes that only have virtual machines residing on them, as well as using those proxies. For example, fiber channel presentation from the storage, ideally we want a backup proxy with fiber channel to make that backup from storage snapshot. So as simple as that when you go through that first initial setup to your storage. The other thing to mention, so Veeam Explorers, if you've been using these storage arrays, any of our storage arrays prior to being a Veeam customer, then you've got the ability to use our Veeam Explorers for storage snapshots. So being able to go into those natively created snapshots, but still be able to perform a level of recovery against those snapshots. So, for example, I have a snap here that's been created on that InfiniDAP box. If I right-click on that, we recognize that there's a virtual machine within there, and we've got the ability to use our instant VM recovery, guest files, as well as application item level recovery. And that's the same on all of our storage integrations. If we jump over to the backup job, I'll just run through the options that we have. So backup from storage snapshot, obviously we want to be able to take that backup from that storage efficient snapshot and push on to our backup repository. But also being able to orchestrate a snapshot only, an application consistent snapshot only to the storage for a much tighter RPO is key as well. So with the IBM, the Lenovo and InfiniDAP, we've got the ability to now set those 15-minute, those hourly snapshots locally on that InfiniDAP for a really fast recovery point objective. And then probably my favorite feature of Veeam for the last 2 years is our on-demand sandbox for storage snapshots. So the ability to take those application-consistent snapshots, pull them into our application group, and then be able to present them to our test, our dev, our troubleshooting, our support teams, and then be able to leverage that data to spin up and use and test against production, performant, and really storage efficient snapshots. And then once we're finished, we're going to automate the clear up of that. So just to run through how that looks. So under backup infrastructure, and this is available in any of our storage integrations. So if anyone's not using that, then it's something to do when you get home, right? So all it is as simple as is create an application group, choose your virtual machines that you'd like. Clint, don't curse this. So under virtual machines, when you select the virtual machines, we can do it from backups, which is our Sure Backup, Sure Replica, but also from storage snapshots. So it's a case of choosing that, and then when you run through a Sure Backup job over in Home, here's one I made earlier, and then there's a tick box in here that we need to be cautious of to keep that application group running so that your test and dev team can get in. Tick that, and then you'll be able to leverage that data.
Terrific. Love Sure Backup, one of my favorite features as well. Thank you for demoing these integrations with our storage vendors. No availability solution is complete without disaster recovery orchestration. We hear this from analysts and customers all the time, and that's why we're really excited to announce, or to tell you more about our Veeam Availability Orchestrator. Okay, so we've talked about business continuity, we've talked about business agility, but now we want to talk about that analytics and visibility. And the first one we want to talk about is the integration or the partnering we've done with VMware vRealize Log Insight. And Michael, I know you've been looking at this very closely. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about this partnership?
So Log Insight is a very popular VMware product that does log aggregation, collation, and then they have this great sort of construct of content packs which vendors can produce that puts a face onto that incredibly detailed logs. Yeah. And so Veeam has one, which will be public soon. And yes, we can actually see here, I heard you say Sure Backup jobs are pretty cool, yes. And I love them too. So we can actually see here that the Veeam content pack is actually looking at the data, looking at all those logs from everywhere, and showing us the successful and the not successful Sure Backup jobs. And what that means is we can actually click on these and get more information and go into what's called interactive analytics. And now we see all the raw data that relates to those widgets that we just saw. Mm-hmm. And it makes troubleshooting much easier And it also allows the customer that's already using this tool to monitor their infrastructure. Now they can monitor Veeam as well.
And that's the real power, right? They're using this tool to monitor their infrastructure, and now in the same location, they're able to see Veeam. Another partner that we wanted to talk a little bit about is Data Gravity. Right, so Data Gravity is leveraging Veeam backups in some very compelling and powerful ways. Right, so they're using it to deliver that federated search, as well as to drive analytics and insights from the data. Things like identifying personally identifiable information that an organization might want to protect, or using it to provide insights into the data, or finding things that might be suggesting that there's patterns of behavior that might suggest malware, or again, ransomware. Another solution that we wanted to tell you a little bit more about is Starwind. And Rick, I know you've been looking at this one in terms of the virtual tape library for AWS and Veeam with Starwind.
Yes, and here's a console here that has a tenant backup job to tape, which was one of the list of features that came in yesterday. And here's the Starwind Management Console. And this is a great technology, John, because this is a VTL technology that really allows organizations to do their same logic of retention on tape, but it's backed on disk and on the cloud, in the cloud with Amazon Object Storage, both S3 and Glacier. So very easy way to manage these tapes, and the real important point is on disk, you get that really good experience for read and write, and random reads, random writes, so that your tape experience is actually pretty good, and then you can back it up to the object storage resources in the cloud. So good stuff here as well.
Yeah, terrific. So Amazon S3 and Glacier.
Yep.
And backup virtual tape library to the cloud. Okay, we're partnering with N2WS through an investment to bring a solution that we're calling Veeam Availability for AWS. So by partnering with N2WS, we're delivering that first agentless availability solution for AWS workloads through this solution. So Rick, again, let's go back to you. Maybe you can give us a quick demo of what this looks like?
Yes, and many organizations who have workloads in AWS, they start here. This is your AWS console of your EC2 workloads. I have a slew of virtual machines in here, but the N2W software, and this is the existing GA bit. We have a breakout session at 2:50 today. Myself and Uri from N2W are going to show this, but real quickly, I'll just show you that basically we're able to connect to the Amazon instance, identify the EC2 workloads that we want to back up. 2 of them I'm not backing up. I could add them in there. And I'm going to leave you hooked and on the waiting for more, because at 2:50, Uri and I are going to give you a preview of the exclusive Veeam integration to put those backups into a Veeam repository.
So a quick sneak peek, but it looked easy.
Yep.
Protecting your data, even that data that's in AWS. So with that, we thank you. Enjoy the rest of VeeamON.